Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Serious Play Convention breakout session. My name is Zio, and I'm here to share with you our board game, Dirty Money. This is actually a educational game about anti-money laundering. Without further ado, let me do a quick introduction of my company. So, we are actually a Singapore-based company, and we are founded in 2015, and we design and publish mainly financial literacy games, and recent years we have expanded into light Asian team family games. So we have also done quite a number of serious games consultancy for governments, schools, corporations, and individuals who are looking to gamify their educational process, especially through tabletop games like RPGs and board games and card games. So these are some of the products that we have designed. Our latest product we have over here, if you look at here, it's actually Zombie Life Insurance. This game is about zombie education, and of course you have Dirty Money over here. Zombie Life Insurance will be launched at the end of this year. If you are interested in learning about insurance, do look out for it. Okay, the last few years, we also participated in Serious Play Awards, and we won the Gold Award for cryptocurrency in 2019 and the Silver Award for Depzilla in 2019 for Silver. So we also won awards from Imagination Games, so there's a UK-based awards for education games. Okay, so we do distribute our games in retail stores. So our games is not only limited to educators and schools. One of our philosophy in game design or publishing game is we try to make educational games affordable and accessible to the public. You can find our games in major stores in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, China, Japan, Germany, Russia, USA, and Russia. So if you do have any interested parties that want to distribute our games in the country, feel free to look for us. Okay, so we also done quite a lot of serious game consultancy. So our games is not only limited to board games. So if you notice on the top left-hand corner, we actually have done interesting projects that deal with Scrabble tiles, and that is on a chemistry project where we try to help to create Scrabble formation using biochemistry. And we have done projects with quite a number of institutions around the Southeast Asian region. Okay, so now why did we design the Dirty Money anti-money laundering game in the first place? As you know, as we go around doing education, we do have some customer that came along to us and said that, Zero, you've been doing things about cryptocurrency, about debt. Can you do something about money laundering? Because money laundering is a big problem right now around the world. As we go around doing workshops and doing events using our board games, there has been people talking to us about money laundering, and due to the rise of digital currency, especially when we are going around showcasing cryptocurrency board game, people are telling us that cryptocurrency is one of the biggest source of money laundering around the world. Do you think you can do something about it? And we thought that, well, I thought that it might be a very interesting topic that we can talk about money laundering, and maybe we can come from the villain point of view, whereby you play as the bad guy, trying to launder money and try to go through the 3 steps of money laundering, and as a form of education to the both the students and to the corporate adults who are going through money laundering training. Okay, so one of the issue with money laundering training is that traditional money laundering training is very dry. It's something similar that you go through a workshop where you sit inside a lecture, and then they go through the steps of money laundering, give some example, and then end with a quiz. So the thing here is that we strongly believe that the best way to learn is by doing, and of course gaming. So that is where we decided that we think that there is a potential learning outcome for anti-money laundering using a board game, and hence we started designing such a game. Okay, this is the final product that you see over here. So this is a box design, and what is the design objective of the game? When we design the game, one of the first objective is to, of course, educate money laundering in a fun and an interactive way. The second objective is that we need to design the game mechanics that is easy to learn for non-gamers. Okay, a lot of time when games are designed, it is meant for gamers. We want to design games that we want to play ourselves, have fun. But the problem is that more often than not, gamers are very used to more complex mechanics, and we often overlooked the needs of the non-gamers who are not used to playing tabletop games. How can we design the game in such a way that can let them ease into the game easily, but at the same time have complex enough mechanics that can educate and showcase the real world workings of how money laundering actually works. And of course, one of the most important criteria is that the gameplay time must fit inside a 1 hour class session. Okay, so more often than not, a class session takes around 1 hour, and sometimes board games can take as long as 2 to 3 hours, especially for complex educational business games. So how for in terms of school, a lot of time there is school schedules or classroom sessions that revolve around the 1 hour mark. How can we design a game that be played within the 1 hour, at the same time have time to go through debrief and conversation and discussion among the students and the individuals? Okay, and lastly, as our games, if you check out all our financial literacy games, we do have a gamification guide. Okay, what does the gamification guide do? Our gamification guide basically try to line the games mechanic and the real world mechanics in such a way that how do they actually gel in the game. So when you play the game, you move the things around, you pick up money. Okay, that's a game, but how do you actually relate to real world concepts? Okay, that is where the gamification guide comes in. It works both as a great training guide for trainers who are looking to turn the game into a training, and they are looking for training material. They basically can extract all the points and the steps and the guidelines from the gamification guide to help them. And the beauty of this is that this gamification guide is included in every single game that we publish and we sell to the retail. Okay, so let us take a quick look at how do we play the game.
Welcome to Dirty Money, where you play as a white-collar criminal trying to launder your ill-gotten cash and evading government inspection. Visit locations around the world and collect dirty money from your local operations. Invest your money in businesses and artwork in order to clean your money, washing away their shady past. Your fellow players will hire a legion of lawyers and accountants in an attempt to expose your money laundering activities. Are you able to avoid government blacklist and launder the most amount of money? Find out in Dirty Money, the money laundering game. In Dirty Money, we take turns to visit locations, each with special abilities, and collect the money cards that you find below. Use the corresponding currencies to buy artworks and businesses. Different businesses give you different ways to earn points, and they synergize with each other to earn even more points. Conduct audits and inspections on other players to check if they possess any dirty money. If they are caught red-handed, they will accumulate blacklist points which will lower their overall score. The first player to accumulate 10 artworks and businesses will trigger the end of the game, and the players with the highest points will win. Do you have what it takes to be a world-class money launderer? Find out with Dirty Money, the money laundering board game.
Okay, so this is our introduction clip that gives a short synopsis of how Dirty Money is being played. And if you are looking for more in-depth understanding of how the game is being played, we have actually sent this game to reviewers all around the world, and I would recommend this reviewer called Unfiltered Gamer, and because he gives quite a detailed rundown of how the game works and how he feels about the game. So do check out this YouTube video if you are interested to find out more about the exact gameplay mechanics of the game. So let's go on to the next part, is what are the challenges that we face as we are designing the game. So as we are initially designing the game, we went into a few ideas. So one of the biggest ideas that we wanted to use is a worker placement mechanic, okay, whereby you place workers there to send them around the world for them to perform different actions. However, the problem we have is that the playing time is between 60 to 90 minutes, which basically exceeds our 1 hour mark that we require to be. In fact, we need the game to be around 30 to 45 minutes so that there is actually time for the brief discussion and of course introduction. And the problem is that there is a very complex currency exchange mechanic in the game, whereby you need to do currency exchange between dirty money, gold, and clean money. So this is pretty realistic as in the real world, because normally in dirty money there's a step, this money laundering, there's a step called layering, whereby you will need to change the dirty money a few times through different types of currencies or steps in order to get the clean money out. But the problem with this complex mechanic that is quite accurate reflecting the real world, it takes up too much time to perform, and it's too mind-boggling for the average non-gamers to try to learn the game. So they take a very long time to learn the game, and that result in a longer playing time, because often there's a lot of questions and a lot of thinking to figure out how the exchange rate actually work. So we went about to redesign the game to think about how we can actually simplify the whole mechanics such that it still reflect well the 3 stages of money laundering: placement, layering, and integration, while at the same time lowering the playing time plus simplifying the game mechanics. So just to show you how the old game design works, so this is how the old design works. So you do see that there's actually a lot of symbols around here, where you have the different countries, you have the currency exchange over here, and then you have different assets class like construction firm, money exchange, that have multiple powers. So you have powers. What happens when if you first get the these assets into your system? What happens every round? At the end of the round, you do gain something, and if at the end of the turn you do gain something also. So there is a lot of interaction. It is interesting. However, it has become too complex for the average player to do. So we went back and we redesigned everything again to ensure that we are able to lower the complexity of this game. So the other problems that we have is that the one of the chief audience that we are facing, which is Singaporeans, we are not that familiar with worker placement mechanics, because our board game industry is still quite young in Singapore, and we are still starting to learn about going from the simple games going to more complex card games. So our worker placement games over at Singapore is not that familiar for the average masses yet. And we have complex symbology on asset cards. So when you have complex symbology and you have a lot of symbology, it takes time for people to try to interpret the symbology. Why we wanted to do a lot of symbology in the initial idea is because we wanted to push this game to other parts of Asia. So if you do understand Asia, it is quite complex in terms of language and educational level. So if you just cross the borders, you deal with 10 different kind of language, and English may not be the most common language that's being spoken in different parts of Asia. So that's why we use symbology, such that we are able to translate the rules quickly to other languages without needing to remanufacture a whole bunch of games in other languages. So that comes back to bite us, because it becomes a longer learning curve if they are to learn the symbology before they can understand what the cards do. Okay, and of course the playing time exceeds a typical classroom session, and there's a lack of player interaction between players. Okay, so in Singapore, the players enjoy a lot of interaction between players, whereby they get to sabotage each other, or they get to do things with each other that either slow people down, or they try to do fun things that it requires people to perform interactive action. So the problem here is that this system, the Euro workers placement system, we have a saying among game designers is that workers placement is often called multiplayer solitaire. You normally try to do your own things, and you try to optimize your points based on what you do. But this may not be a mechanic that is very popular among Singaporeans. So given the problems that we have with the old design, we decide to redesign the new one. So this is the new design. As you can see that in the new design, we still have the international thing, but we no longer do with a huge board with the global map. In fact, we streamline it such that there is still the countries like Japan, USA, and Europe, but it no longer have such a complex big board with a lot of things happening all around the thing. So what happens with the new design is that we reduce the number of decision trees such that the players take less time to make decision, and they are able to go through each turn much more quickly than the old design. We also simplified the symbology and reduced the number of mechanics on each asset card from 3 to 1. So if you remember, in the old design, there's actually different segments that does different things at different parts of the turn, whether you just got the card end of the turn or end of the game. So we just simplify everything such that there's only one effect on each card, and they are, although they all do different things, but it's much easier to remember what this particular asset does at any point of time. And we also simplified the scoring system, because in the old scoring system we have a lot of interaction whereby you earn scores at start of a turn, in the middle of a turn, and end of the turn based on whatever that you accumulated and how much dirty money that you have laundered along the way. And we decided that, you know, this is too much for people, that they spend too much time doing scoring. So we basically removed the scoring system such that we only do one-time scoring system at the end of the game, rather than the old design whereby we do scoring whenever that you actually get some scores due to how you run the game. Okay. Lastly is that we actually increase player interaction due to this two new mechanics where players can actually inspect and audit other players' money for dirty money. So previously, what happens here is that we do have something like an inspection kind of card, but that only like tries to increase the alertness, where you have a higher chance that if you're holding on to a lot of dirty money, you might get penalty points at the end of the round. But we feel that this is not interactive enough, and we wanted players to look around the table and say, I think you do have a lot of cards in your hand, you have a lot, holding a lot of cash, you might have a higher chance of having a lot of dirty money, so I want to inspect you to check whether you have any dirty money at your hand. So this creates a kind of a pull and push factor is to among players, such that you know that if inspection cards and audit cards is displayed on the tableau and some people might pick it, you will be more in a hurry to get rid of your dirty money, trying to make a suboptimal move. So that is like in the real world, that if you feel that the police is on you, you want to get rid of your dirty money as soon as possible, even if it's inefficient in converting the dirty money to a clean money. So this makes the game having a time pressure for them to try to move faster, instead of holding on to a lot of dirty money and waiting for the good chance to try to launder the money out. Okay, so lastly is that due to all these changes in the game mechanics, we managed to reduce the playing time to 20 to 45 minutes. Of course, based on the player count, the more player there is, the longer the player time, but it fulfills our objective of leaving enough time to have discussion and debrief at the end of the day. So, what other things that we have done? We still try to have minimum words for language independence adaptation, but it's just that we reduced the number of symbols out there, and of course we provided a symbol guides in the rulebook to ensure that players are quick to understand what are the games. You also reduce the number of assets out there, because the more different kind of cards you have, the more symbols you need to learn in order to understand how the game works. We also didn't want to use too dark of a palette in terms of creative design or too serious illustration, because in this game you are basically playing as a villain. So if you go too dark, as in the game, something like a mafia team or a yakuza team, it might put off the education world, whereby this may be seen as a game of vice and illegal activity. So we want to present it in a more light-hearted manner. And how can we do that while at the same time showcasing that, this is somewhat of you're playing as a villain, but your villain is in a way much more light-hearted way, and it's not meant to be taken as a serious game just to talk about crime and drugs and illegal activities. And we also considered the idea of that classroom, different classroom has different table configuration. So we must be able to redesign the components such that it's modular in order to adapt to different table sizes. So previously, if you look at our design, we have a big board that is pretty inflexible, meaning that in every classroom concept, you need to have a big table in order to hold that board. So if you look at the new ones, it's actually all cards, and we are able to place the cards at different areas, such that we can actually split across different tables, and it helps much better in different classroom with different table configurations. Okay, so when we come to the box cover, we of course, how do we do the creative design? If you notice our capital games, one of the key design we have is that we try to we try to duplicate our box design like something like a movie poster. So the movie poster that inspired us is actually from this show called Goodfellas. So if you notice the box cover, actually, yeah, it looks pretty similar, but in a more light-hearted manner. Also, we're also looking at the different kind of cities where we want to showcase, we want to should go to the different kind of cities, different part of regions, and how can we use the different cities, and what are some of the landmark that we can use to showcase the feel of the different parts of the world. And of course, we have a money design. And one of the thing about money design is that in the game, the money notes is placed both horizontally and is held vertically. So we need to design the currency in such a way that no matter whether you hold it horizontally or you hold it vertically, you are able to read and understand the words easily. So we took the inspiration from Hong Kong. Over here, you can see from the notes over here is being designed in such a way that it can be seen vertically or it can be seen horizontally. You can see both how much is the amount of the notes. Okay, so that is that if you see our card design, yeah, this is basically how we have. So we have both the vertical panel and we have both the horizontal panel. No matter how you look at it, whether it's on the side or on the bottom, it looks nice and it's easy to see. Okay, so remember I mentioned about our gamification guide, which trainers can just buy the game, take the gamification guide, and they can create their own curriculum based on the guidelines on it. So this is what the box looks like. So we have the rule book that talks about how to play the games, and we have the gamification guide over here. So just to give a quick snapshot how the gamification guide looks like. So basically what we have over here is that we have a concept whereby we go into the real world concept that we talk about what is money laundering and how does it affect people around the world, and how do we translate that into the game, and what is some of the mechanics in the game that translate that in the real world concept. Okay, so this is the documentation that you can find inside our game. And lastly, just to share a bit about the team. So who are the people behind the game design and the production of money laundering? So for me, I'm Zio and I'm the game producer, and we have Daryl Chow, who is one of the top game designer in Singapore. So he has designed quite a number of games for local designers and international games that actually went on to be showcased and well reviewed by international reviewers. And we have Alan Bay. He's one of the top Singapore illustrator and graphic designer. And of course, we have Jocelyn, who did up the education and gamification guide. And we have Kieran, who helped us create all this wonderful animation and all the website that you see in our video. And if you go to our website, you see that all the artwork is actually done by him. So this is the team, and I'd like to thank them for helping us create such a beautiful and wonderful game. Okay, so I think that's the gist of it. And if you want to find out where you can play the game, because this game is only launched in March this year, so our games rollout haven't reached to all parts of the world yet. So due to COVID-19, logistic is a challenge in the last few months. So we are still trying to get our distributor, the games to our distributor. So you might not be able to find it in US and Canada. So if you want to try the game online, you can actually try the QR code where you can actually go on this online virtual tabletop platform called Tabletopia, where you can try out the game online. Okay, and if you want to buy the game, you can of course scan our Capital Games Studio website, check out our e-commerce site, and you can check out some of the distributors we have around the world who might or might not be stocking the game. Then depending on whether have they obtained whether the shipment has reached them at this moment in time. Okay, so I think that's all, and I'll welcome if you have any questions for me, and I thank you very much for taking the time to allow me to share with you on this thing. Okay, thank you very much.